algorithmic social engineering. If I control the technology, I can dictate the market. I'll explain what that means. Michel Foucault, in 1975, in their work Discipline and Punish, talked about panopticism. She based it off of a prison design, right? It was a prison design with a watchtower in the middle of the prison. And this theory was that, like, by putting the watchtower in the middle, the prisoners would police themselves because they're under surveillance. So physical authority has shifted to psychological authority, right? And over time, their behaviors change, and this causes a term she calls dynamic normalization. So in the digital age, the watchtower has transferred. So through technology, through bots, through fake viral clips, fake accounts, you can police platforms and algorithmically influence society with the technology that you can control. The technology that you can control can dictate the market. We see it across various industries all the time. A lot of people have seen some of my quarrels with the media industry. That's kind of the reason why I started streaming. You know, some of you have seen my stream and going off on Stephen A. Smith. But exactly, but Stephen A. works for ESPN. ESPN is controlled by Disney. Stephen A. doesn't choose the topics, somebody chooses them for him. You know, his willingness has made him extremely valuable to these companies, but you know, a lot of these companies and corporations, they meet 4 times a year and talk about amongst various industries how they can socially engineer and influence our minds, right, through the technology that they can control without us really even paying attention and even noticing it. Just like the Michel Foucault theory, where I was talking about the watchtower that is policing the prisoners, bots, comments, positive comments or negative comments could affirm whatever agendas that they want to push. They can create the bots, they can control kind of the approvals or disapprovals of what is in society. Another example is kind of like group thinking. If I control a bunch of platforms, or I control a bunch of accounts, or have a bunch of partners that are all in cahoots with me, I can also socially engineer conversations, start trends, kind of create a herd mentality where you think it's natural, but it's all algorithmically engineered to dictate the market. And then the last one I would say is like the digital dopamine. A lot of us are addicted to social media, we don't even know it, right? The rewarding feeling of getting likes.
What's up, everybody? Big Ed is back with another edition of Urban Politicians TV. And believe me, this is one of those stories you need to hear all the way through. Keep your ears open and pay close attention, because what unfolded here is going to spark a lot of debate in the days ahead. Recently, Jaylen Brown spoke at a university in Morocco, and some of the points he raised went much deeper than many people initially understood. The interesting part is that anybody working in media, digital marketing, content creation, or online strategy would struggle to point to anything he said and prove it was inaccurate. And that's precisely why so many people seem uneasy about his comments, because he spoke honestly and didn't sugarcoat a thing. If you truly understand how modern media operates, then you already know there were several layers embedded in what he was talking about. His message wasn't aimed at just one individual. It highlighted a much larger system that plenty of fans still refuse to acknowledge. A lot of people believe everything trending online develops organically, when the truth is that many narratives are strategically built behind closed doors. I've been talking about this for years, which is exactly why I've referred to Stephen A. Smith as the script reader. Some folks claimed I was just hating, especially after Stephen A. previously argued that critics were only trying to damage his reputation and interfere with his business opportunities. But that has never been my argument. The truth is straightforward. When you're employed by ESPN, there are agendas, production discussions, and pre-selected topics long before the cameras begin rolling. Of course, personalities have some input, and naturally they'll discuss subjects dominating social media, but the larger picture extends way beyond that. ESPN falls under the Disney umbrella, and by now everybody recognizes how influential that media empire really is. They understand algorithms, they know how to steer conversations, and they've perfected the art of elevating certain narratives over others. The personalities viewers see on television become the messengers delivering those narratives, whether audiences choose to accept it or not. Once that machine gets moving, countless voices online begin echoing the same points, and the momentum grows rapidly. We already saw something similar during the Kyrie Irving controversy, and that situation still speaks volumes. Now, the ongoing friction surrounding Jaylen Brown appears to be another example of that same cycle playing out right before our eyes. You can side with either perspective if you want, but Stephen A. has often shown a tendency to take things personally once emotions enter the equation. Instead of remaining a straightforward debate, it can start feeling like he's trying to win a personal war, much like many people felt happened with Kyrie. When that happens, analysis takes a back seat, and it begins to resemble a contest, where every appearance becomes another opportunity to reinforce the same narrative. And once those comments hit national television, you already know the next step. They're clipped, repackaged with flashy headlines, and distributed everywhere through calculated promotional strategies. As soon as those clips gain traction, smaller creators and outlets pile on, and suddenly the exact same narrative is impossible to escape. If someone doesn't fully understand media systems and algorithmic amplification, defending themselves becomes extremely difficult because the public assumes the story developed naturally. People automatically think if ESPN is saying it and every outlet is covering it, then it must be true. But remember, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar media operation with enormous reach and influence. How can an average individual realistically compete when that level of power is reinforcing one version of events day after day? Sometimes the only real choice is to speak publicly and establish your own narrative before somebody else defines you first. And that appears to be exactly what Jaylen Brown is doing at this moment. Many people fail to realize that this strategy extends far beyond sports and exists in nearly every major industry. Whether we're discussing music, entertainment, restaurants, or business, companies invest massive amounts of money to ensure specific ideas, brands, and narratives stay in front of consumers. None of this is new either, because the media has always been among the most powerful tools for shaping public perception. The difference now is that social media has dramatically increased both the speed and scale of that influence. Today, those messages arrive directly in your pocket without requiring a television broadcast, newspaper article, or commercial break. Every single day, people are bombarded with marketing campaigns, stereotypes, and carefully engineered narratives, whether those narratives are accurate or completely misleading. That was the core of Jaylen Brown's message. Systems exist that influence how people think, and many individuals never even realize it's happening. Whether you agree with every point he made or not, it's hard to deny that he raised issues worthy of serious discussion. As for his ongoing conflict with Stephen A. Smith, that tension has only intensified because of recent conversations involving trades and player rankings. Then you hear people confidently arguing that Jaylen isn't even a top 7 player in the NBA, which sounds unbelievable considering he helped lead his team to a championship only 2 years ago. But once those takes are wrapped in high-end production, bold headlines, and non-stop promotion, they begin carrying far more authority than they may actually deserve. After hearing the same message repeatedly, the narrative spreads whether people support it or oppose it, because the conversation itself has already been framed. That's why I never criticize someone for taking control of their own story before somebody else writes it for them. There's a major difference between presenting verified information and repeatedly presenting personal opinions as unquestionable facts. From my perspective, Jaylen Brown has every right to challenge the way narratives are created and amplified. Some blogs and media platforms will build an entire storyline from nothing more than a few comments posted online, and anybody who has covered this space long enough knows that isn't an exaggeration. I've seen it happen countless times, so I'm simply sharing what I've personally witnessed over the years. That's one reason I respect Jaylen Brown for speaking openly, even knowing criticism was guaranteed to follow. He already signed a $300 million contract, so this clearly isn't about chasing money. It's about standing on principles he genuinely believes in, and I respect that completely. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because there's still a lot more to unpack. More content is coming soon, and as always, stay on your pivot.